So the most common type of mens rea that the law will look for when deciding whether or not to punish you for a criminal act is willfulness. That just means you were full of the will necessary. You wanted the thing to happen. And this is the default, the most common one. It applies to most criminal cases. And willfulness requires two things in order to be in place. The first is knowledge of what it is that you're doing, and the other is the desire to do it. So if you wanted to do something but you didn't realize what it was that you were doing, willfulness won't be there. If you know what you're doing but you didn't actually want it to have happen, it just kind of happened, the gun went off in your hand, then it's difficult to show that somebody wanted the murder to happen. Willfulness requires both of these, knowledge and desire, to be in place. You could think of an assault, right? If I'm throwing a punch, then I have to know that when I throw this punch that it's going to hit the person, and I also have to want to do it. If I think the person's a hologram and just fooling around, yeah, I did have a desire to throw the fist towards that object, but I didn't know what I was doing. Likewise with theft, there's a defense to theft. If you actually legitimately thought that the thing that you were taking belonged to you, then even though you desired to take the thing, you didn't have the knowledge of knowing that it was not yours and that this would be theft, so you would not be found guilty in that case. Now, you might say, well, this is kind of weird, right? If the prosecution is responsible for proving that somebody's guilty, then you have to show to the judge all the elements of the crime. That means you have to show the judge evidence that the person wanted to do it. How do you prove willfulness in a court case when it's something that went on inside a person's head? Well, we don't actually expect them to provide like an image inside your brain. Proof of mens rea is necessary, but it doesn't have to necessarily happen directly. Actually, most of the time, it doesn't happen directly. Otherwise, the only way that you would have convictions would be through confessions, where somebody's writing down, yes, this definitely is something I wanted to do, I did this thing. But plenty of people get convicted without a confession. So how does this happen? Well, it's because you ask the court to infer from what happened that the accused knew that this was going to happen and wanted this to happen. You ask the court to look at their actions as described by the other witnesses, and you say, okay, based on what we saw this person do, based on what they might have said at the time, that the person desired that this would happen and knew what it was that they were doing. And that's how you prove willfulness, indirectly, by asking the court to infer from the actions that this is intentional. All right, let's give you an example here. This guy, Charles Ingram, I'm going to post a video for you on this. This guy was convicted in the United Kingdom of deception in relation to a game show. This was Who Wants to Be a Millionaire on British TV. And the way that he was found guilty was because there were people coughing at very strategic points in the audience, and based on the coughs, he was reacting to these in a way that the court looked at his reactions to the coughs, at the whole sequence of things, and decided, okay, this is enough for us to infer that the guy was working with the people who were coughing, and that even though he denied absolutely wanting to do this or being complicit with the people in this fraud, the court still inferred from everything, all the circumstances, what was going on in the guy's head, and said, okay, this guy did have this guilty intent. To this day, this guy still denies that he was acting in a guilty way, but it was enough for the judge to find him guilty.